There is one practical thing that Democrats can do right now that would help them regain power. It's never speak to Trump in person. No, I'm kidding. That's stupid. No, it's this. Inspire your moderates to vote in the primaries. Get that base excited. You have the numbers. After Congressman Moulton made his comment about his daughter not getting run over, he added, "But as a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that." Well, then change what you're supposed to be afraid of.
The DNC is in disarray, and Maher isn't pulling any punches. You might expect him to show pity for a party adrift without leadership, vision, or a clear message, but instead, he's lighting them up. On Real Time with BillMaher, the sharp-tongued host went after AOC and the Democrats, blasting them for failing to learn from their last devastating defeat. The result? Pure fire. Let's break it down.
All the time. Why haven't you ever had Hillary or Bill Clinton on? Why didn't you have Kamala on during the last campaign? You think we don't ask? We ask these people every week. They say no. It took 8 years and a petition to get Obama on. And these are people, all people I voted for. Think about that. They're afraid to come on the show of a guy who voted for them.
BillMaher opened by lamenting how the very party he's long supported, with his vote, his money, and his influence, has sidelined him for years. Despite being one of their most visible cultural allies, Democrats consistently avoid his platform. He's extended countless invitations to appear on Real Time with BillMaher, yet they never show. Why? According to Maher, it's because they fear tough questions and can't defend their fragile positions against real counterarguments. Instead of embracing open debate, they retreat into an echo chamber, proving his point that the left has grown soft, insecure, and intellectually lazy. But then comes the twist. What about Republicans? Are they just as afraid?
Republicans? They show up. And when they do, they take their beating like a man. He went down to Mar-a-Lago and kissed his ass after that. Oh, bullshit. When the Mueller report came out, I feel like you mischaracterized it, and I feel that was shady. But you campaigned for election deniers in 2022. This I do not forgive. The Republicans, including you, January 6th, etc., are the ones who are no longer willing to play by the rules of democracy. It's Amendment 22. No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. And yet you keep talking about Trump's third. Maybe you should have this. Here,
Sure, Republicans have had their share of comebacks, some sharp, others clumsy, and no doubt a few that landed on Maher himself. But that's not the point here. The real takeaway is that, win or lose, Republicans actually show up. They sit across from Maher, take the heat, and engage in debate, even when their arguments are shaky or unpolished. That willingness to step into the ring, knowing they might stumble, shows a kind of grit and accountability. Unlike their Democratic counterparts, they don't hide behind safe spaces. They face the fire, and that alone speaks volumes.
I have AOC on the show, and Mondami and Elizabeth Warren, but I can't subpoena the guests. And I can't fix that what the Democrats are scared of more than anything else, I mean, obviously besides gluten, is being primaried from the far left, even though most Democrats are not far left. They're mild-mannered and moderate, at least in my bathhouse.
It's no secret that the far left is steering the woke agenda. What's alarming is how their voice now drowns out the entire Democratic Party itself. Instead of holding firm to principle, party leaders cave and pander to every demand, no matter how extreme. The DNC looks less like a backbone of leadership and more like a spineless machine of appeasement, more focused on pleasing the loudest activists than serving the broader American public. What Democrats truly need isn't another figurehead bowing to the mob, but someone with the courage to say enough and push back against the far-left takeover.
One practical thing that Democrats can do right now that would help them regain power, it's never speak to Trump in person. No, I'm kidding. That's stupid. No, it's this. Inspire your moderates to vote in the primaries. Get that base excited. You have the numbers. After Congressman Moulton made his comment about his daughter not getting run over, he added, "But as a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that." Well, then change what you're supposed to be afraid of.
BillMaher's point couldn't be more on target. In recent years, countless moderates within the Democratic Party have quietly shifted toward the center, or even to the right. These are people who once proudly identified as Democrats but now feel alienated by a party increasingly controlled by the far-left agenda. Many of them would gladly return if the DNC had the courage to loosen its grip from the woke fringe and restore some balance. Instead, the party walks on eggshells, tiptoeing around the far left, terrified of backlash and censorship that comes with even the slightest defiance. Until the DNC breaks free from this cycle of appeasement, moderates will remain on the sidelines, and the party will stay trapped in fear-driven politics.
Would have the power and influence to be able to, usher in socialism?
He definitely has the power and influence to elect J.D. Vance or whoever is the Republican candidate next time. It is a walking commercial for the Republican Party
I think
nationally.
the Republicans are going to...
When you let the Democrats, socialists, and now they're actually calling themselves socialists, when you let them take over a major American city, this is what you get.
Let's break this down. Here's Maher's core argument. If Democrats put Zohran Mamdani forward as their standard-bearer in 2028, they might as well hand J.D. Vance the keys to the White House. Maher warns that Mamdani's brand of woke, socialist-style policies could resonate with Gen Z voters hungry for radical change, but the math doesn't work. Gen Z may be rising in influence, but they are still not the largest voting bloc. Millennials, Gen X, and especially baby boomers dominate at the polls, and Maher argues Mamdani's rhetoric won't just fail to win them over, it could drive them further away. The message is blunt. Staking the party's future on a far-left figure isn't bold strategy, it's political suicide, practically guaranteeing a Republican victory.
With a psycho who all they care about is controlling you, they're very good at diagnosing problems. Yeah. They're very good at figuring out what your weak points are. And that's, I would argue, what a lot of these people are doing. Right. They recognize that if you can focus on these problems, then you can, use that dissatisfaction to gain power for yourself.
To me, Mamdani isn't offering leadership, he's exploiting frustration. He seizes on real flaws in the system not to fix them, but to weaponize them, fueling anger and resentment. Instead of presenting thoughtful, workable solutions, his rhetoric only deepens the very problems he claims to oppose. It's the oldest playbook in politics: point fingers, inflame emotions, but never deliver real results. And let's be honest, socialism, no matter how attractively packaged, has never produced lasting prosperity anywhere it's been tried. Yet many young voters, lacking first-hand experience with its failures, are swept up by Mamdani's promises. They see ideals dressed as progress, while overlooking the costs: economic stagnation, loss of freedoms, and deeper divisions. Mamdani isn't leading a movement toward solutions. He's selling a dangerous fantasy that history has already exposed, while too many in the crowd cheer without asking the hard questions.
Terrible for a guy like you, who you spent your whole life talking about how government tries to do too much, which it does, and spends too much. And here you have Trump, who is the Republican, who is aggrandizing more power than anybody, as we just talked about. And on the other side, you have the guy running in New York, Mamdani, right? Okay, who's like a straight-up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free buses.
I want him to win.
You want him to win?
Yeah. I think every 20 years or so.
Wait.
We need every 20 years or so, we need a conspicuous, confined experiment with socialism so we can crack it up again.
Some of us have studied history, and we know exactly what socialism leaves in its wake. We're not eager to relive those consequences. So no, we're not praying for Mamdani to win. Far from it. Our hope is that more Democrats wake up before it's too late and recognize the damage his leadership would unleash if he ever came to power. The warning signs are already plain. Policies that sound appealing in theory but collapse in practice. Promises that stir emotions but undermine the foundations of a free society and a healthy economy. What we're really hoping for is clarity. Clarity for voters to look past the lofty slogans and slick rhetoric and to see the long-term harm buried in Mamdani's platform. If Democrats care about their party's survival, they'll stop him at the ballot box before he drags it into ruin.
The slogan used to be, "Workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains." The new socialist slogan is, "Trust us, this time it won't be a mess." So, when the post-war Labour government in Britain was about to get started, one of their leading lights was a socialist named Nurian Bevan. He said, what could go wrong? He said, we have a nation bedded on coal, surrounded by fish. It would take an organizational genius to have a shortage of either. In 3 years, they had a shortage of both. That's socialism.
On paper, socialism can look tempting, a utopian vision where everyone shares equally and no one gets left behind. But history shows that in practice, it's far worse than capitalism. For all its flaws, capitalism still rewards hard work, innovation, and determination. It gives people the chance to create, to earn, and to build a future for themselves and their families. Socialism flips that promise on its head. Behind the rhetoric of equality lies a system where power consolidates in the hands of a greedy elite. They take the lion's share, while ordinary people, no matter how hard they work, are left with little to nothing. The result isn't fairness, it's stagnation, resentment, and poverty dressed up as progress. Time and again, socialism hasn't lifted the masses, it has trapped them.
Tell the usual suspects on the far left that the saying is, when you're in a hole, stop digging, not keep digging. Talk about doubling down on what got you fucked in the first place. Even the one concession I've heard a few people on the losing side offer, that liberals should stop saying the Trump voters are stupid, comes with a kind of unspoken parentheses. We know they are stupid, just don't say it.
Unfortunately, that's exactly how the left often views the right, as a mass of ignorant, backward people incapable of reason. It's a stereotype they lean on, a convenient narrative that lets them dismiss conservative voices without ever engaging the arguments. In their eyes, anyone who supports MAGA or leans right must be uneducated, unenlightened, or morally deficient. Meanwhile, they cast themselves as the enlightened class, the wiser, more compassionate, morally superior elite. But history shows that this arrogance is their greatest weakness. When you spend all your time looking down on opponents, you underestimate them. And when you underestimate them, you lose. That's the left's blind spot. The constant self-congratulation blinds them to the very real frustrations driving millions of Americans, frustrations no amount of smug moral posturing can erase.
Bad news for you. They don't have a monopoly on stupid. You wear Queers for Palestine t-shirts and masks 2 years after the pandemic ended. And you can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates. You're the teachers' union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke. You just lost a crazy contest to an actual crazy person.
At the end of the day, the problem with the Democratic Party and the far left isn't just their policies, it's their arrogance, their pandering, and their refusal to learn from history. From BillMaher's warnings about elevating woke socialists like Mem Diney to the growing alienation of moderates who feel abandoned, the writing is already on the wall. Socialism may sound good on paper, but in reality it has only empowered elites while trapping ordinary people in poverty. Yet blinded by self-righteousness, the left clings to a false sense of moral superiority while dismissing conservatives as ignorant. That hubris has always been their undoing. If Democrats keep bowing to the loudest activists instead of standing for reason and balance, they won't just lose voters, they'll lose the future. America doesn't need figureheads afraid to say no to extremism. It needs leaders with courage, and with that, we wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed this commentary, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more bold takes.